Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really fascinating document called Organism of Study Circles. Okay, so if you're out there trying to build a commune from the ground up, or maybe you're just super interested in horizontal grassroots organizing, this source text, it's basically a highly practical blueprint. We're going to break down exactly how this document suggests laying the actual groundwork for communal life.
Okay, let's dive right into this. How do you build a commune without recreating the exact hierarchies you're trying to escape? It's the classic hurdle, right? For anyone trying to build an egalitarian community, how do you organize yourselves without accidentally mirroring the very top-down authorities you are actively trying to run away from? Well, the source argues the answer actually doesn't start with building physical infrastructure. It starts with how we learn together.
The author uses this honestly wonderful biological metaphor, the organism of study circles. According to the text, a study circle isn't just, a book club. It's a living, breathing practice of collective education. Think of it less like assembling a machine and much more like tending a garden, or maybe planting a mycelial network. By studying together, the text argues we don't just gain knowledge, we're actually cultivating the habits of cooperation, moderation, and shared responsibility. It prepares the soil for actual communal life.
To really grasp this, the text draws a pretty sharp contrast with the systems we are all used to. In a traditional classroom setting, a central authority dictates what's important. But the anti-authoritarian alternative presented here is the study circle. Here, education relies completely on mutual teaching and mutual learning. The underlying philosophy is that knowledge absolutely shouldn't belong to a political elite or just a single teacher. It belongs to everyone.
All right, moving on to Section 1, the seed, collective purpose.
So, the text suggests gathering a group of roughly 5 to 25 people. But what do you actually do when you get together? Well, the goal is to critically examine the injustices in your specific location. To put this in simpler terms, especially for those of you actively building community, you aren't just sitting around reading abstract theory. You're gathering to figure out exactly why your local rents are rising, or maybe how you'd set up and maintain a shared community fridge. You identify forms of domination, like capitalism or patriarchy, in your everyday lives, and then seek collective solutions rooted in group imagination.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that the curriculum itself is formed through a completely participatory process. Even the author of the text includes a little disclaimer saying, hey, I'm no authority on curriculum design. Every single voice in your group should contribute to shaping what is read and discussed. It's entirely horizontally managed, based strictly on the specific needs of your community.
That said, the text does provide a suggested reading list just to get the gears turning. It recommends a really solid blend of theory and practice. For theory, it lists classic and contemporary works from thinkers like Peter Kropotkin, Emma Goldman, Murray Bookchin, Richard Wolff, and Kali Akuno. But it balances this out by heavily emphasizing the study of living, real-world examples of prefigurative spaces, basically spaces that are already practicing these ideals in the real world, like the Zapatistas, the Rojava communes, and Jackson Cooperation.
Let's move to Section 2, the soil, circle structure.
The hard mechanics of the circle here are straightforward, but they are absolutely vital. Step 1, meet regularly. That could be weekly or bi-weekly, whatever fits the group's rhythm. Step 2, make sure each session revolves around a shared reading or a theme just to keep things focused. And Step 3, all ground rules must be established collectively. They are never, ever imposed from the top down. Plus, any participant can raise a question for group discussion literally at any time. The whole shebang relies on voluntary association and shared responsibility.
Next up is Section 3, tending, the moderator's role.
Because, every garden needs someone to tend it, and this brilliantly illustrates the difference between traditional education and communal learning. The moderator is absolutely not a commanding teacher or a leader. They are a neutral facilitator. Their entire job is to guide and nurture the collective discussion without pushing their own agenda or taking sides in a debate.
The text breaks down the exact duties of this facilitator. First off, neutral facilitation, keeping the conversation focused on the agreed theme. Crucially, they actively encourage participation. This means specifically making sure that quieter voices in the room are heard over the louder ones. They also stimulate deeper thought by asking clarifying questions, and then they wrap things up by summarizing and connecting the group's contributions so everything actually feels coherent.
So the crucial point here is that this role absolutely must rotate regularly. This is literally a non-negotiable rule in the text. Think about it. If one person is always the moderator, Well, congratulations, you've just accidentally invented a boss. By rotating the role, not only do you prevent a monopoly on power, but every single member of the commune gets to learn the vital art of facilitation. Which brings us to Section 4, Multiplication, Growing the Commune.
Let's see how this builds. According to the blueprint, once a circle completes its study, its members should now have a pretty clear vision of what kind of commune they want to build. From there, participants are encouraged to branch out and start new study circles with 5 to 25 other people. So, Stage 1 is your single circle. In Stage 2, as one circle creates many, these affinity groups freely associate and federate into what the text calls clusters. Then, in Stage 3, those clusters federate into superclusters, and this entire network remains completely bound by horizontality and direct democracy, dodging centralized authority entirely.
All right, finally, Section 5, the prefigurative principle. The source describes these study circles as miniature communes of thought. By meeting up, setting rules together, rotating the moderator, and making sure everyone has an equal voice, participants are constantly rehearsing egalitarian practices. They're sharpening their critical consciousness so that the intellectual foundations are firmly laid for, as the text calls it, real communes of life. Basically, the study circle is the engine that makes the physical commune possible in the first place.
Which leads us to this incredibly powerful concluding quote from the text. In essence, study circles embody the prefigurative principle. They already practice the world we seek to build. You don't wait for the commune to be perfectly built to start acting like a community. You start acting like a community right now, right there in the circle, and the commune just organically grows out of that shared practice.
So we've walked through the text's blueprint together, gathering your group, co-designing your syllabus, rotating those facilitators, and letting the network organically multiply. If this source material resonates with your own goals of building horizontal communities, it leaves us with one final, deeply practical question. Who will you invite to your first study circle tomorrow? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.